All right, this question looks very intimidating. We've got a weird equation, we've got a long story, but remember, they're not really asking us about Central High School and the students per classroom. Get back to basics. This question is really about something that you know very well from school's math class, right? So it may not have looked like this when you learned about it in school, but this is basically going to correspond to some chapter in your math textbook. So our job is to get back to basics and think like, okay, if we were writing a math textbook, what chapter would we put this question in? Well, hopefully you recognize that it's about lines, okay? Because this equation is a linear equation. So let me pull it out here. Y equals mx plus b. That's our standard line. For the SAT, that's the one we're almost always going to see and want to see if we don't have it, right? So we're almost always bringing it back to that form if we don't have a line that's written like that. But in this case, they're very generous. So this equation, y equals 0.56x plus 27.2, corresponds perfectly with the normal y equals mx plus b equation that we're used to. And so when they ask us, what does 0.56 mean, we should put that in the terms that we're familiar with, right? So that means the slope of the line, right? It's in that same position. It's attached to the variable. It's convenient that the variable is x, but even if they had changed that, the structure of the equation is the same. So there you go. That's the slope. Now, when we have a story, we tend to see certain words with the idea of slope. So it's not going to just say slope, but it does say things like change, rate, and specifically, that's messy, increase or decrease depending on the story. And so, okay, choice A, the total number of students at the school in 2000. Well, that sounds like the starting point, so that would be much more like a y-intercept. The average number of students per classroom in 2000. Actually, in fact, that might be a better example of the y-intercept based on the story. But the point is, both of them sound like starting points. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for something like an increase, the estimated increase in the average number of students per classroom each year. Compare that to D, which is just kind of random. The estimated difference between the average number of students per classroom in 2010 and in 2000. Well, if X is the number of years, why would we suddenly just jump 10 years? Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So even without overthinking D, I know this is a relatively easy question. We're near the beginning of the section. And so with that and my knowledge of y equals mx plus b, I would be very confident that C is the answer. It's the only one that makes sense with the normal expectations that I have for how lines work. So try to recognize as quickly as possible when a question is asking you about lines. Sometimes they'll use the word linear or whatever, but if they don't, you should be able to look at an equation and be like, that's y equals mx plus b. That way you get back to basics and you're back on familiar ground to better answer the question.